All right, we are live, and guys, my name is John Cassidy. Thank you for joining us today on The Naked Truth. We're going to talk about losing, finding, and keeping your motivation. Sometimes that's a hard thing in business, but not just with business. I think in life, relationships, working out, and just a little while ago, I was reflecting a little bit. Everything isn't about business, but business does is a big part of everything. And this tomorrow, my wife and I celebrate our 19th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
super excited about
props.
that. And
Raising the bar.
you think about that. Thank you. Is that how do you stay motivated, right? Because there's ups and downs in relationships and in marriages, and you got to stay motivated. And I just admire being around successful people, building relationships with successful people like Gina with Pivot 10, and super excited about her. She's really embraced our Naked Truth series. And Gina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Gina Tremarco. I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess we call me. I own Carolina Improv Company, which is here. You see, I'm here today at our theater, which I'm not here that often anymore because I'm lucky to have a team who makes it happen. And also the founder and owner of Pivot 10 Results, which is our corporate training and strategic business, helping businesses solve people problems to profit in their business.
Awesome. Because I think sometimes people problems, a big people problem that we have in business is motivation, right? People get unmotivated. Yep. They get, we call them GOMOs, people just going through the motions. They're disengaged.
Ooh, GOMOs. I like that. I got to type that one up.
Yeah, so people that are just going through the motions, they come in the morning, they clock in, but they're not engaged in their work, and a lot of times that comes from a motivation standpoint. Like they're demotiv. Is motivized, motivation. They just don't have the motivation anymore, and when I had a little article sent to me earlier today, and it was about it was an open letter, and I posted that on my Facebook channel. But I looked up some stuff about motivation murderers, right? And now, guys, remember, this isn't just about business; it's all about everything. But here's just 7 of those murderers, and maybe Gina, you and I can talk about them if anybody wants to jump on. I think Jonathan Henderson's going to join us in a little bit. But how about these are the 7 that came up? It was ingratitude. It was envy, impatience, being overwhelmed, inaction, loss of meaning, and no skin in the game. And I'll type those up really fast.
Do.
And
I got your article. I didn't have a chance to read it because I run when the TV news calls. I drop everything I'm doing.
Absolutely. Well, that's the one way that we stay motivated by keeping our names out there is that though ingratitude, we've got envy, impatience, overwhelm, inaction, loss of meaning, and no skin in the game. So I'm putting that out there for everybody to take a look at. We're going to answer that, post it as a question. And there it is right there. So let's just talk about really quick about, we'll go down the list about ingratitude. I think that's a big thing from an employer standpoint. You've got employees that you work with, you've got team members you work with. And, as when we wear that hat, we have to keep in mind that Maslow's hierarchy of needs is I think the basic one is acceptance, which would be gratitude, let people know that they're appreciated. How about some of the ways from an improv standpoint and the things that you do, a leadership standpoint, that you make sure that you get that gratitude out to people?
It's interesting because I've had a rough week for a variety of reasons in my business. And as the leader, you have to stay motivated. The easiest way to show gratitude, I think, is to say thank you, right? Like, it's the easiest thing to do. It doesn't cost any money, and people want to be acknowledged. So a simple thank you is a big part of what I do. But I think all of these things Hey, all of these items that you've talked about on this list, I think it's a two-way street too. It's not just about the leader and the boss and the employer having these characteristics. It's like we have to have gratitude, but so do the people on the team. So that's the fine balance.
Right. Well, I definitely appreciate that. There's a fine balance, and I want to welcome Jonathan Henderson. We call him Hindu. He's with us right now, and this guy's a longtime friend. He's a man. He's like one of my best friends, but he's also a mentor of mine, and super successful in business. And Jonathan, I'm glad that you broke away from your schedule. As you told me, you're super busy today, but you liked the topic that we were talking about, which was losing, finding, and keeping motivation. And
Yep.
A lot of times in your business, especially, you got 5 different businesses, one of them being a coaching business, actually putting kids into the major leagues. Do they ever get unmotivated?
Oh man, most of the time, I don't think I've ever met anybody that's not at least went through what I like to call a downtime. Where you're not really motivated, and so not everybody always stays at peak performance. That's why it's called peak performance, because if it was always peak performance, then it wouldn't be peak performance.
Right.
There's always another level. There's always another gear. Always something, but. At the end of the day, just touching on what you were talking about as far as keeping motivated, I like to use fear to keep me motivated. We always talk about fear and about how it's, all of its negative effects, and we understand that fear is a paralyzing force. And if you allow fear to overwhelm you, then you won't be able to do anything. But at the end of the day, there's a healthy fear also. I believe that for every, reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction to it. And if most of the time when we talk about fear, we talk about it in a negative way, that there can be a positive effect towards fear also. And, for me, it's a it's a fear of not winning. I've got to win. I've just got to, not everybody has that personality where they've got to win at everything that they do. And, but I do. And it's just something inside of me that man, I can't be a failure. I can't do it. I can't let anybody have that edge on me to ever have that. I told you he wouldn't do it. I just can't do it. And so that fear inside of me just keeps me motivated on days where I don't want to make it happen. My wife and I, we've decided to get healthy. And we're doing it in a natural way. We're not taking potions, lotions, or, magic berries and all this other kind of stuff. We're doing it the right way. We're doing it eating healthy and exercising. And, we just come off of a little retreat that we had. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to go to the gym today, man. I didn't want to go to the gym. But, man, that fear of being a fat ass, kind of, beat the fear of sleeping in, so. At the end of the day, I got up and I went to the gym because I want to win. I want to, I put myself out there. I live my life open and public. I don't have anything to hide. I hope that, just by the way that we live our life, it would motivate somebody else to be able to take some positive steps into their life. And so, at the end of the day, I looked at that and I said, man, I can't let all these people down. If I let all these people down, then, how can I ever be the benchmark? And so for other people to shoot for. So I had to get up and I had to go to the gym this morning. Didn't really want to do it, but I was afraid of being that fat ass. So that's my contribution of the day.
I know you're going to have more than that, but I appreciate it. Guys, I want to remind everybody that's joining us right now. I appreciate it. This is The Naked Truth. We try to do them on Mondays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Sometimes we fluctuate a little bit because everyone's busy, but if you'll share this link with your friends on social media, we'll get more of an attraction, and maybe we'll give some nuggets to your friends, your teams, your family about these truisms that we have. And today's about losing, finding, and keeping motivation. We went over to that I found an article about 7 murderers. We talked about ingratitude really quickly. Jonathan, I think you just touched on a base of envy. Envy's a murderer if you allow it to consume you and be jealous. I think envy is a good thing. If I look at Jonathan and I see the life he's living, or I look at Gina and seeing the success she's having, if I envy that and I want to model that, what they're doing to get what they're getting is great. Now, if I'm jealous over it, you're damn right. It demotivates me. I don't get excited because I'm just like, come up with excuses in my little head, right? About I can't do it because I'm not as clever as Gina, or I'm not as tenacious as Jonathan. Right? I'm not good looking. That's right. Woo woo.
Oh, Gina.
So, I think a big one when I look at this, because all of us have been through some kind of loss of motivation in our life and different things, downtime, as you said, is that impatience for me seems to be one of them. I'm that hard charger, but I'm also a blue personality type where I'm like super excited, and if I don't get that boost of endorphins going off, right? I forget about it. Doesn't work. But what I've learned through people like Jonathan and Gina is that you have to have patience, that you have to embrace the process, So you see this a lot, at both of you guys being coaches. Gina, why don't you just talk to a second about how you try to coach people to get past the impatience point of view,
Yeah, it's a really hard one, and I want to talk a little bit about envy too, because in a lot of the coaching I do, and I'm sure that Jonathan sees this too, is that people go through imposter syndrome, and they also go through, well, look at how this person's doing. They're doing so much better, and why can't I be doing like they're doing? And one of the things I coach on is, you're not them, they're not you. You're unique, and you have to embrace your uniqueness. So having envy to an extent is good, only like, again, with Hendo, I'm like, I want to win. And so I'm motivated by being great. I want to be really, really great at what I do, and that motivates me. And sometimes I have a touch of envy, if I see anybody doing really well, but that envy I turn into, I want to do that. So I don't let it bring me down. On the impatience part, that's such a hard one. In my opinion, it's a practice, because I'm highly impatient. I have to practice it. I have to have a conversation with myself and go, embrace the process. It's going to come to you, but you have to embrace the process.
Awesome. Jonathan, what did you say about the impatience?
Yeah, well, what I find funny is everybody wants what everybody else has, in a microwave society. They want it right now, and they don't really understand what the people that actually have what they actually want is really went through. So, the one thing that, to be able to embrace the process, you have to understand the process. You have to have a good idea of where that person's coming from and came from, to be able to understand and respect what they actually have. And so, with that being said, for me, the process is pretty simple. It's all the process. Every single part of it's the process. And, when people think that they're winning and they won at the highest level and they think it's over, well, that's not where the process ends. The process just kind of regenerates itself, and it starts right back over. And you got to help somebody else do exactly what you've done, because, at the end of the day, envy, like you said, John, envy can be used as a really, really good tool. For every action, there's an equal and opposite, reaction. So if we look at envy in a negative light, we can also look at it in a positive light. And so, because like what you said, there is such a thing called modeling. Tony Robbins talks a lot about modeling, but for me, being from the country where I'm from, I got to break it down really, really simple. And so the way that we break it down simple is if you see somebody that has what you want, just do what they did to get it. It's just that simple. And so, because, at the end of the day, nobody's better than me. Nobody's less than me either. Gina, you're not better than me, but I'm not better than you. And when you realize that, I just believe my personal belief system says that, we are created in God's image. And so what that means is it doesn't matter if you're black, white, tall, short, fat, skinny, good looking, ugly. It doesn't matter, because we're all created in his image. Then we're all equally deserving. And so, the thing that separates, people, I was actually on a retreat, and my wife and I were doing some people watching. That's so bad, isn't it? But y'all, I know there's some people out there that's like, I can't believe that they were people watching. No, yes, you can. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching people, and I'm just trying to play out their life as I'm just watching them in this little short segment of time of what they went through and kind of where they've been and their background. And I start thinking about, just different things, where we are in our life. We're at a place to where, we don't make decisions based off our time or money. We don't do anything like that anymore. We kind of do what we want, when we want to do it, and all of that. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all these other people, and I'm like, why don't they do it too? And it basically boils down to the feelings that they have, whether it's the feeling that they can do it or they can't do it, the feeling of being motivated or not motivated. Being motivated is just a feeling, because you could be really, really motivated and go do the right action steps to be able to take you to your goal, or you could not be motivated at all. But as long as you're taking your action steps to reach your goal, then you're going to get there just the same. motivation is just a feeling. It all boils down to just a feeling, because I understand, people, if you could actually really just one time, just for 1 second experience your goals and your dreams, you would do whatever it would take to be able to get there, to be able to do it. And so, motivation is a figment of our imagination. Motivation is whatever we tell it that it is. John was talking about those endorphins and those highs. Well, you can create those. You don't have to feel the same. When you're watching somebody else, let's talk a little bit about business here. Okay. You're watching other people go out and crush something and you're not crushing it. I'm looking at Gary Vaynerchuk and I'm like, screw you, Gary, screw you. Like, you suck. I'm so much better than you, but here you are and you've got all this and you're doing all that. And, I could use that as leverage to either propel my business forward, or I could use it as a brick wall to hold my business back. And I'm like, which way am I going to go? It has nothing to do with being motivated. Is just a feeling. Am I going to get off my ass and do something, or am I not? At the end of the day, that's all it boils down to. And I know there's people with different personality types, and they're like, oh, yes, but, that's not how the world works. Is it whatever? That's how the world works.
That's right.
Get out there and make shit happen.
You know what, Jonathan? Gary's going to be at a sales type conference put on by Salesforce in New York in June. He'll be there, and Seth Godin will be there. And so my friend Sean and I are going. And
these guys, they've made a lot of money off of just telling people what they already know.
Exactly.
That's stupid, isn't it? And I love them for it. I love both of them.
And that's
I want to look at them and smile and tell them that they're all number one at the same time. But I love them. I read all of their stuff, and I'm like, yeah. And they're just telling me I pay money for you to tell me what I already know. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on that.
Okay. But talk about motivation. I'm going to this conference that Salesforce is putting on because I want to be around those people.
Yeah.
Those people motivate me. I want to be like them because I'm just as smart.
I know, right?
It's all this common sense shit that I'm just as smart at doing. And I need to make the money that they're making because I'm just as smart.
Exactly. Yeah, we just gotta go make it happen. That's all it is.
Exactly.
I found going to those things and seeing these top leaders speak, and just like seeing Jonathan speaks in front of thousands of people as you do, Gina, and to we consistently talk to people, and we tell our teams and the people we coach, the people we mentor, and the people that mentor us tell us the same stuff, regurgitate this information over and over and over. And what's crazy is that Jonathan could be telling me something 100 times, and then all of a sudden, that 101st time, it clicks. And maybe it's the same or whatever it might be.
And wait a second. And it could be the 101st time, but I said it and not Jonathan.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like someone could tell you sometimes I have to bring in a coach for my clients because they're not listening to me, the coach, but I bring in another coach, and that coach will say the same things I said. And they're like, oh, wow. And I'll just look at them and I'm like, But you know what? Whatever it takes to get through to somebody.
Sure. What I'd like to hear is if any of our viewers right now are interested in asking us some questions about motivation or anything like that, just type it into the message dialogue box, the live chat, and we'll address that. But as we go on, we're talking about these seven different murderers of motivation, and we talked about ingratitude, envy, and impatience, and now the next one up is overwhelmed. I mean, and for folks that own multiple businesses, as Gina references it, as serial entrepreneurs, which all of us are, and we always seem like we'll take on something else, right? Is that, and we all probably say too, we're overwhelmed. And sometimes that's a default for something that we don't want to dive into. But when we say that, being overwhelmed, what do you guys, how do you react to that? Because I get it, because it's not just about business, it's about life too, right? We got a lot of life stuff happening. How do we overcome that overwhelming fatigue, I guess is the best word. Either one of you guys want to grab on that?
I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gina.
No, go, Jonathan.
Gina, go ahead. Ladies first.
Overwhelm to me is a state of mind, and we can control how we deal with the overwhelm. I'm not saying I'm not overwhelmed. I'm often overwhelmed, and I don't like the feeling of it. So I try to find a way to get out of the overwhelm. I think the bigger you grow and the more businesses you own, you start to get really good. And I see my own clients go through this. You start to get really good at delegation and having a team to get you out of the overwhelm. I had some overwhelm before I left the office to come to the theater with technology. And then I just finally looked at Heather. I don't know if she's listening. And I'm like, you deal with it, because I'm going to remove myself from the overwhelm. So that's, I think overwhelm is a state of mind. And I think a lot of people use overwhelm as an excuse.
Love that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I think if you're not overwhelmed, you're lazy.
Woo!
Yeah, because let's just be honest with you. We're talking to business leaders right now, and I don't know what you do for a living. I don't know what your business is. I don't know if you're working something on part time. I don't know if you're working on your dream part time while you're making a living. I don't really know what it is, but at the end of the day, my wife, we were actually like I say on our retreat, and we were just hanging out and just talking, and she said, for somebody that has no stress in their life, for somebody that literally could do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it, you have nothing you have to worry about. I've never met somebody that's as high strung as you. Now, this is my wife for almost 20 years. It's like, why are you like that? But there again, it goes back to the fear. Am I going to win or am I going to lose? Fear, it's just a choice. You get to choose which one. And, are you going to win or are you going to lose? And so for me, that feeling of overwhelmed, I know if I'm doing that, I know that that dust is not collecting on my feet. I know that I'm constantly moving, and in actions where you resolve any area of conflict, any area of doubt, any area of it cures everything is just action. Action is just what you got to do. And so you got to keep your feet moving. And so that feeling of being overwhelmed, there again, instead of it using it for the negative, I choose to use it for the positive. I'm going back to that a lot here today, because overwhelmed, you hear that and it's like, oh my gosh, that's such a negative. When you feel overwhelmed, people stop. Well, not everybody. When you feel overwhelmed, some people just kind of dig a little bit deeper, start doing more of the action steps and start doing them faster. So that way they're not as much overwhelmed, because they know if they stop, that they're going to go backwards, because there's no such thing as stagnant. And I can go on and on and on here about this right here, but I choose to look at overwhelming as a positive. Like, I know that my plate has to be so full that if it's not, then I'm not doing everything that I can to be the successful that I want to be. And so I choose to embrace the overwhelm. I love being overwhelmed.
I love it. What's really ironic, I think, is that most people that are the 9-to-5ers that have that job and they fell into that system and go to school, go get good grades, go get a good job, is that they're overwhelmed with their current situation, right? Which is work. Right? And whatever else is going on with life, like, we all have our problems. But the folks that are overwhelmed or very vocal about it, they want to go and tell everybody about their problems, and they got all this bullshit happening, and they're so upset because this is happening, that's happening. Well, we all got it, right? But what's amazing to me, I find very perplexing, is that they're overwhelmed with a 9-to-5 job where they don't have payroll to deal with. They don't have taxes to deal with, like payroll taxes.
Can I get a witness?
Yeah, absolutely. But how about this? It ties into the impatience, because a lot of us here, we train and coach and mentor people on how to create new businesses, right? And what people give up, and they quit on themselves when they're impatient that business success didn't happen in 2 months or in 30 days or a year, where they'll work their whole life for 40 years to just stay broke. Broke being a mindset, not money, right? And Jonathan, you do a great a great demonstration of that from the stage, and you tell a lot of people about that whole mindset. And I know I regress back to impatience, but I think it's very relevant here that we get the motivation goes away because of our impatience, but it also, impatience, I think, spawns from being overwhelmed and not knowing how to handle all of these different tasks that we have. But you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, well, I'll touch on it the best I can. I mean, I'm a 22 year overnight success. It's people weren't with me. That's why the one thing, and I'm probably going to go way off base here, John. So I apologize, but I just had some friends of mine achieve a milestone in their business, and they did something that was really, really big, and I get to celebrate with them. Right. And what I find funny is there's so many people that want to be a part of your celebration, but nobody wants to be a part of the process that actually gets you there. And so I remember, I actually had some people questioning my authenticity when I was around them because, man, I was telling them about their success, and man, I was tearing up like the people were in front of me, like they were there with me and they wasn't me. But I was tearing up, and I was so fired up because I've been able to experience the mountaintop with them, but I've also experienced the valleys, and I've experienced everywhere in between. I experienced all the roller coasters in between, getting to the top for them. And so they were like, they honestly questioned my authenticity with it. And, are you just putting on with that? Are you just making that? And I was like, no, man, because when you can go through the process with somebody and you understand that it just didn't happen overnight with them, and you can celebrate the victory with them, man, there again, it all goes back to a feeling. I'm just telling you, everything goes back to a feeling. If you knew what it felt like to struggle, if you knew what it felt like to think that you were there and then you had to go back to the bottom and then you struggled all the way back up and now you're on top of the mountain, you've got the world in your hands, you got the bull by the horns, and you are winning. And just to be able to celebrate with people like that. And so, it's just the process. Now, we talk about embracing the process and embracing the overwhelm. I'm going to substitute a word. You got to own it. You got to own the process. You got to own being overwhelmed. You got to own it instead of just embracing it, because embracing it, and I use that word a ton. I think I've used it 1,000,000 times on today's blab alone, but I want to start changing my language. You change your language, you start changing your outcomes, right? I want to start changing my language to own it. And the reason why is because embracing it leaves too much up for grabs. It leaves too much for out there. You got to own it. And you got to own whether you win, you got to own whether you lose, and you got to own whether you're going to work through the process or are you going to own whether you got to work for somebody else. I'm just telling you, I respect people that are listening to us that work a full-time job and do what they're wanting to do to be able to create their dream part-time. I love that, because what's happening is if you don't get cooked in the squat, like Zig Ziglar says, if you actually own the process and you make sure that you go and finish whatever it is that you're doing, that feeling, I promise you, will allow you to help so many more people. People ask me, they go, why are you constantly doing junk like this? Because you do realize I jumped on this blab like at a moment's notice. I'm doing 10 million different things, and they're like, why are you making it a point? I even had somebody go, man, what are you blabbing about? It's somebody I'm trying to get to watch the blab. They really need to watch the blab, but they're too stupid to even get on the blab to watch it, right? And so, I'm trying to get them to watch it. They're like, why are you going to that far? Why do you have to? If you get to do whatever you want, why are you going to do that? I'm from the country, so if y'all don't know that little country accent, that's what we said. What we make, country people make fun of other country people by talking like that right there. That. So they were like, why are you going to go get on that blab? You get to do whatever. It's because that feeling. I want so many more people to have that feeling of winning, that they don't have to be motivated. You don't have to have all those other feelings. Just go win. So rant ended.
Love it. Gina, anything with that?
I want to circle back to the impatient thing. I have a client, and she knows who she is, and she's doing things right now, so she can't be on this blab, so good for her. But she will get super impatient with her progress, and she will, and she's extremely coachable because we get into this constantly of it's not happening fast enough. It's not happening fast enough. It's not happening fast enough. And I'm like, you've really only been in it for 3 months. Talk to me in 8 years. Okay. She's having amazing progress, but it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it when you're new at it. It's hard to see it when you're starting a business and you're not making money yet. Right?
Can't see the forest for the trees, right?
Yeah, it's hard because
there's more money going out than's coming in.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's that the fear takes over of all the money being spent to build it. And I said, stop, breathe, and have some gratitude. Like, what can you have gratitude for today? Like, I want you to. And she did a post several days ago of it was a list of gratitude, and like she mentioned me in like the last part of it of like, and Gina Tremarco, this was for you. And it was like all the things she was grateful for. I'm like, you have to appreciate the success that you're having, as small as it is. So, you know what? I'm on this blab today. That's a success. You know what else was successful? ABC called me today to do an interview. You know what? That's a huge success. Like, everything that happens in my day is a success. Heather's in the office running the technology ridiculousness. That's a success. Like, what can you really own in the success? That's going to keep pushing you. Mm-hmm. That's my whole impatience thing is have gratitude.
I love it, and I love the fact that we're going through these different 7 murderers of motivation. And just to recap, guys, with the new viewers that we have Gina Tremarco with Pivot 10 Results, which is a serial entrepreneur in Myrtle Beach. She does a lot of things for a lot of companies and helps them fix their people problems. And then we got Jonathan Henderson, which is a legend, and in the business world, the guy has teams of thousands of people, help kids go from wanting to play baseball to being in the major leagues and all kinds of things. So guys, definitely connect with both of these folks on social media and hang around these type of people will help you get there. And to move on to the next murder of motivation is one that can be instantly killed with a process. And here it is: inaction. Inaction can be instantly killed with action, right? So what's amazing is that we're talking about business, and a lot of our talks and blabs revolve around business. But when we talk about motivation, we're talking about everything from relationships to physical fitness to business to whatever it might be. Reading good books or whatever it might be. And I'm just going to relate back to physical fitness for a second, because last night I made the commitment to start back at the gym, and I had something going on up until I didn't get to the gym till 10 o'clock last night. But I pushed through and I did what I said I was going to do. And this is what my day started. I was supposed to go to the gym at 6 a.m. Now I could have took the road of I was too busy and things got in the way, but I wanted to make that commitment to go. Now remember, it's not just one time. And I'm solved. I have to go in through the process and go through that commitment. Now, I started my journey again, trying to get there. Jonathan, you're back on your fitness. You could already tell your transformation of what you're doing. But when we talk about anything, being it with business, with baseball, with coaching, inaction is probably the biggest fuel for a lack of motivation, right? So let's talk about that for a second. It's a pretty easy topic, but it is complex.
Yeah, well, I think, go ahead, Gina.
I was going to say, the first thing that comes to mind is I think inaction breeds more inaction, right? The more sedentary you are, the worse you get. You have to keep momentum going and keep, something I coach on all the time is activity, activity, activity. The more activity you have, even though you don't see immediate results, it's like that's how you keep your sales funnel full, is constant activity.
Yeah, well, it's a principle. And, for me, being a believer in Christ, I believe in the Bible. That's my personal belief. And so, when you look back to it, it doesn't matter if you're talking about your life, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your business, your health, your whatever it is, it doesn't matter. When they wrote the Bible, the only thing that they had to relate to was like agricultural terms and stuff like that. And so, for me, I'm just going to go back to something in nature, and it comes straight from the Bible. If you don't draw from a well that's flowing, then you're going to die. And what I mean by that is that there's no such thing as stagnant. Like inaction being stagnant, it's not stagnant. It's going backwards. It's dying. And the reason why is because if you drink from a stagnant pool of water, what's going to happen? You're going to get sick and you're going to die, because that's where disease festers. That's where all the bacteria sets up. But you can go to a free-flowing river and you can drink from that water, and that water will sustain you because it's moving forward. And so, and everything that we do, it doesn't matter, who you are. I've talked about it over and over again on the blab, even before this point, about action. I have a fear of being overwhelmed. My overwhelm creates action. It doesn't cause me to stop. And the motivation, I have a fear of not winning, so it keeps me moving forward. It keeps my action steps moving forward. And it's just a principle. It has nothing to do with anything other than being a principle in anything in life. When a plant stops growing, what does it do? It dies. It just doesn't remain the same. It dies. A tree, you could have a big old 1,000-year oak tree out in your backyard, right? But that tree's still growing, because if that tree wasn't growing, it would be dying. And so when you really look at that, if we apply that to our business, if you're sleeping in, you're dying, right? If you're not out there, growing your funnel, you're dying. If you're not out there, promoting whatever product you sell, or whatever service you offer, you're dying. So we've always got to be moving forward. You always got to be taking those action steps to be able to move forward.
I do want to say one thing about sleeping in. It depends on how you define it, because sometimes I sleep in because I'm up till 3 a.m. working. So
that's not sleeping in. That's not sleeping in. I'm not getting out of bed for anything other than duck hunting before 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I promise you, I'll be up tonight working. I have an international business.
Yeah, right.
And so,
exactly.
When you're doing a webinar with Australia, or you're doing a webinar with Hong Kong or Singapore or Malaysia, and when you're doing those, then it's a big difference. So you got to make sure that you get your sleep in. So
exactly,
sleeping in has nothing to do with time. If you're sleeping in or not.
Exactly.
Are you just laying there just to lay there, or do you need to get up and need to get your butt moving?
Yeah, sometimes.
And hey, if you've only been in business for 3 months, you can't afford to go to bed. Let me tell you one thing: if you're getting more than 3 hours of sleep a night, and you've been in a business for 3 months, then you're going to lose, and you need to be okay with losing. And I'm not going to call you a loser, but you're going to lose. You need to be getting out, moving, and shaking. And man, no sleep for the next 10 years for you. That's how you get fat, and then you need to go to the gym.
Boom. Love it. Hey, the next one up on the list is loss of meaning. Well, how about loss of meaning? Because in the process, sometimes we forget, and Jonathan, you and I refer to this a lot of times, of your why, like why you're doing something, the loss of meaning. If you feel like what you're doing has no purpose, then you're guaranteed to have zero motivation to do it. Without meaning, we feel lost. And we search for meaning, we realize it's not really there. Without the motivation to do something, we can fall into the stagnation of an external crisis or worse.
Yeah, I mean, the why really helps you keep moving. I mean, why are you doing what you're doing and all that? It works. At the end of the day, I would much rather do something for the reward that I'm going to get from it than to have to worry about why I'm doing it. But there again, I'm up on top of the mountain, but when I was in the valley, having that in front of me, being able to cook my kids breakfast every morning, to be able to, whenever they said, "Dad, can I?" you go, "Yes," before it ever comes out of their mouth. That was a real big reason why I wanted to be where I'm at right now. And so, if you need to find that, if you're stuck in the middle, if you're getting cooked in the squat right now, if you feel like you're stagnant and you need to find something going outside of just winning just to win, why did you ever start what you're starting in the first place, and what changed, what made the feeling change, and figure that part out, and that will help you stay on track with the why.
Right. Awesome.
I think this happens a lot to people in business, right? We sometimes lose our motivation. And I was just looking up a book that I recently read, A Beautiful Constraint, is a really great book about when you run into issues and problems and constraints. How do you find ways to make them beautiful? How do you turn them around into something beautiful? And I recently, in the past few months, got really burnt out with my theater business. And I was really starting to lose my motivation. And I had to stop and ask myself, why was I doing it anymore? And I had to look at my mission statement and I had to review that. And I realized that the business had changed and evolved so much that I was no longer in alignment with the original mission. And so I had to go back in and go, all right, it's time to, I know I'm going to say it, it's time to pivot, which is a big part of how Pivot 10 came about. It was time to pivot things. And so I think you have to, when you start to feel that place of, I no longer love what I'm doing, you need to stop yourself. And you can put that in a relationship too, right? In marriage. Why am I not happy in the relationship that I'm in the business that I'm in? Because I got into it for a reason. So revisiting that and seeing, do you really still want it? And then how do you tweak it? And I think you can refine your meaning.
Absolutely.
That would be and two, John, you need to talk about that. We need to talk about that on a Naked Truth is mission statements. Your mission statement isn't always out there for your client or for your customer. Your mission statement is there for you also. So Gina, you hit on a great point right there. I always love talking about that. So I'd love to do a blab about that. The other thing that you touched on is as far as marriage. The one thing I can tell you is that being married for 19 years, my wife and I have been together for almost 21 years. There's a lot of times that we haven't loved each other, and that's okay too. But that's when commitment comes into play. It's how committed are you to the process? And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, as far as motivation being a feeling, like whenever, you want to win, whether you feel like it or not, you get up and you do the right action steps to be able to go win. Same thing in marriage, same thing in business. It goes back to how committed are you to the process? If you're committed to the process, I didn't say how much you like the process, because let's just be blunt about it. If you're in business, the process sucks a lot of the times. The process is going to suck more than it's not going to suck. Okay. Yes. And so it's how committed are you to the process, to being able to make sure that you get to that end result, whatever that end result is for you. I want to be able to celebrate, my wife and I's 50th anniversary. I want that dinner. I want that. I want all of our friends and family members to be there. And, so there's a process. And, and just like with anything else, the highs and lows, like our retreat, man, it was a high. It was a high. I left coming everywhere I go somewhere with my wife and come back, I love her more than when I left. And so, it's just like one of those things. It's just, you just got to make sure that you're committed to the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, I love what you say about the mission statement. You guys are definitely right on board there. We've got to have a mission statement in business, but I think in life and we have to have a personal, some of us refer to it as a provision statement or a mission statement, just where we're going, what our meaning is and what we're trying to do and achieve, difference between success and significance, right? And both of you guys are trying to be significant, but success is a byproduct of the significance, right?
Oh yeah. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you guys do, and because of your mission is to help other people ultimately, is a huge part of why you are where you are. And also, all of us, when we're honest and we're naked about this and being truthful, is that we all burn out. We all have to get lack of motivation. Like Jonathan said, we go through the plains of the, well, you said it earlier, Jonathan.
The peaks and valleys, the summits.
And valleys.
And when we're leaders, we have to we can't bitch and complain to our friends. We got to do it internally. We got to do it in the mirror sometimes, right? And have those conversations. The most conversations we have is with who? Ourselves. And as we're driving down the road, we're having those conversations of
in the shower.
Why are we not moving forward, or we're stagnant right now? What we got to do? And sometimes for me, it's being around our friends or the people that are looking up to us that we can help them, and that remotivates me. Right? That I get excited for them. And thinking about it, you hear it in my voice. I'm getting excited about it, and something I've learned from Hindu is, but by doing that, servant leader, absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it all flows uphill. It never flows downhill. And
Right.
when you're on the mountain, there's nowhere else to go, right? And sometimes you just got to suck it up. You can't have the pity parties.
Yeah.
It's a part of the responsibility of being the leader. Okay. Now I will tell you, there is support groups for other leadership, but it does not happen within your organization. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all.
You got to
You're
find other
alone.
people. You got to find other people that are where you are, that have been through what you've been through. And there's other people. I know you might think that you're the only one out there that's ever been through something, but you're not. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and break the bad news. Sorry, you're not. And if you actually network with other people and you search those people out, you can find other people to surround yourself with. And if that's not the case, there's people out there that you can pay to just talk to. Okay?
I'm available.
There you go. I'm plugging Gina right now. Right? And at the end of the day, they'll just sit there and just listen, because it can't run downhill. You are the example, and if the example is frustrated, if the example is butthurt, if the example isn't having you can't be. You have got to be at a 10 at all times, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, you got to be at 10 at all times. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in an organization to where you're leading from the middle, that's even better, because then you have the built-in support system.
Yeah.
But if you're the one that's on the top of the mountain, you better surround yourself with some other people.
And along with that, I started a blog this morning, and the first 3 words were leadership is lonely. And it's a blog about when you are the leader, my evolution through leadership, through other organizations, through my own organization. When you're at the top, you have to make decisions that people are not going to be in favor of. You can't be best friends with everybody. And sometimes you have to say, this is the way we need to do things. I'm all about collaboration, but there are days when people don't like the leader, and you can't get your feelings hurt, and you can't take it personally, and you got to realize they're all kind of complaining about you behind your back. And it's lonely, but it's necessary. And this goes back to something we said earlier. People don't know what you're going through. People don't know what it takes to run a business, and dealing with taxes, and dealing with liabilities, and dealing with keeping your team motivated. And there's so much more. I could go on and on. I'm writing, like I said, I have a blog that'll probably come out tomorrow about it. But I also want to go back to the peaks and valleys, because I had a pastor who gave a sermon on this, and he talked about when you're on the summit, when you're at the top, right? You're at the peak, like everything's amazing, and you work really hard to get there, right? And it's awesome. And sometimes the only way to go is down, and you go down into a valley. But instead of being upset or depressed about the valley is where you rest. The valley is where you go, let me appreciate where I just came from, and now let me look to where I'm going next.
That's good.
So I really look at peaks and valleys as, sometimes I look forward to the valley because it's a resting space.
Yep, I like that. That's good. It's good stuff.
Awesome. All right, the last one that is the set number 7 that's on it, and they're not in any order as far as what's the most likely to be the motivation murderer. But this one is no skin in the game.
This is
I really can't speak to that, because I don't deal with those type of people. Right. I don't associate with those type of people. I don't. There's people out there that it's kind of like the guy telling you how to raise your kids, but he's never had kids. Mm-hmm. It's like I had a lady try to give me marital advice about a month ago, and I asked her how long she'd been married, and she'd never been married.
Wow.
I close the door, walk out. I don't even tell them thank you or bye. I just close the door and walk out. I get away from those people as fast as possible. If you don't have skin in the game, now look, let me be clear about what having skin in the game means. If you work for an employer right now while you're building your dream outside of your regular job, you better have skin in that game too. You better have skin in everything that you're a part of, in every game that you're playing in. You better put some type of skin in. It might not necessarily be monetary. It might be emotional skin in the game. But you better put some people like that, man. People like that, they're the ones that'll shoot you in the back. I don't associate with any of those. So it doesn't matter if you're working for somebody right now. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur right now. But you better have skin in the game. And the more skin you got in the game, whether you're financially, incentivized, whether you're, emotionally incentivized, or whatever it is, the more skin in the game you have, the more likely you are to get your feelings hurt. But the more likely you are to get your feelings hurt, the bigger the reward is on the prize. Because there again, I make a boatload of money, in my life. And I don't say that to impress people, but I make stupid money. I make more when I go to bed than most people will make in a month by working, okay? That means nothing, okay? Absolutely nothing. You know what fires me up is the feeling I get when I get to go and celebrate my buddies winning like tonight. Right. It has nothing to do about the money, okay? So, yeah, you can win monetarily, but when you can win emotionally with other people that have skin in their game too, I'm telling you what, man, you want to talk about living a fulfilled life, a purpose-driven, fulfilled life, that'll help you do it right there.
Gina.
Well, I think he said it all. I'm a big believer in skin in the game. We have this Carolina Improv, the theater. I'm there today because we had a TV publicity thing going on. One thing that we moved to recently with the theater, because all the performers who perform at our theater perform for free. Right. And of course, everybody talks about me. I can't believe Gina doesn't pay the performers. At the theater, the shows don't really make us money. Now, it leads us to other things. It's a good marketing arm. But the time and energy that goes into running a theater is exhausting mentally and financially. So I really, when I went back a couple months ago and looked at what's the purpose of this place, and our mission is to develop people personally and professionally. Part of their development is their time on stage, right? They take classes, they audition, they want to become performers. But what was happening was a lot of performers just wanted to show up and perform and be done. And that was it. Well, things still have to happen. Right. And, it's like, could you get people to come to a show so that there's people at the show? So I implemented what I call a marketing co-op fund. If you want to be a performer, you now actually pay a monthly fee like you would do to belong to any other hobby, because it wasn't about the money. It was about skin in the game. It was about having
skin in the game.
Have a sense of appreciation, because all of the money that they put in goes to a marketing co-op fund, and all that money goes right back out for advertising. So we don't keep it, but we put it back out there. But I wanted people to have an understanding of what it takes to keep the playground open.
Yeah, I was about to say, who cares if you did keep it? Because what happened was you were making those people be accountable for what they really wanted. It's easy for people to say something that they want, but how much is it really worth to you? My father-in-law pastors a church, and he was having some issues with some volunteers, and I told him, I looked him right in the eye, and I go, fire them. Yeah. He's like, you can't fire them. I go, yes, you can.
All day long.
He goes, they're not getting paid. I go, yes, they are. They're getting paid. He goes, well, what do you mean they're getting paid? We don't write them a check. I go, the feeling that they get from doing that job is their payment. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. And if they won't follow directions, if they won't follow instructions, and if they won't get there on time, if they come not properly dressed and representing the church in a proper way, you can warn them. You can do whatever you want to. But at the end of the day, fire them. They're going to cost you more people.
Yes.
And it's like,
They can infect your people too.
Whew.
Yes.
Yeah, infection's the worst part. So when it's funny, Jonathan, is that you started particularly this topic off is that you didn't have much to say about it, but you hit one of the key points that I'm using a little dialogue going along with this is it says set yourself up for pain. So if you don't have any skin in the game, one of those reasons, if you can actually recognize that, then you can set yourself up for the pain. You need to be ready that the pain doesn't have to be monetarily, like you got to mortgage your house off in order to put your family in danger. But the pain can be emotionally. It could be a realization that, listen, you've worked 20 years of your life and the next 20 look the same shitty as the last 20. Well, that's pain.
Hey man, I started a business in my local area, and it implemented a lot of people from our community. And there was a lot of people in our community that didn't like it, and they talked major junk about it. Like major junk. And what was funny is it did nothing but help people. It did nothing but help people, and that's why the whole purpose was it was just to help people, and so you start talking about setting yourself up for pain. There was no way that I was going to let those people be right in our community. No way whatsoever. Like I made sure that I wasn't going to be the only one that would be winning either. There's a lot of people in our community now that are winning in this one business, one project that we're working on. And it all comes back to the point of that avoidance of pain. It would be more painful for me to go to the grocery store and look some of these people in the eyes if I didn't win. Now those people that talk junk about me, they will literally run and duck me at every. I watch them and I laugh at them. And if you know my personality, you know that I literally laugh out loud and point at them when they do it. I go, oh man. But you hit the nail on the head. That last point, John, was the avoidance of pain. Man, I just couldn't be that guy. I was going down with the ship, baby. I had that much skin in the game that, if we didn't get this project off the ground and if it didn't work out right, I was going to be the one that took the brunt of everything. And so, at the end of the day, I just didn't want that to happen. And so, you want something that motivates you, put that much emotional skin in the game, not monetary, because that wasn't really monetary. Yeah. That business had nothing to do with money, right? It was all emotional. It was emotional credibility in the community. You put something like that, into the pot, and you're going to win. I'm just telling you, you'll stay motivated to win.
Absolutely. Gina, what do you think of any last thoughts, closing thoughts?
I think along those lines, I think for all of us too, but if you really want to be a winner and a leader, you take risks. You do things, to just kind of jump off of Jonathan. Like sometimes we do things that people are going to talk smack about. They don't think it's going to work. They doubt us. They spread rumors. And you have to keep moving forward and stay really passionate about and committed to what you believe is going to work. And 9 times out of 10, I take a risk that people tell me isn't going to work because, I don't know, they don't want to see you succeed, but you have to do it. And then people look at you and go, I never thought that was going to work.
That's so much fun.
It really is.
Leaders, Ashley, the best is leaders take risks and keep moving forward with commitment is what you're saying there for sure. Is that so? We wrap this up. Usually we try to keep it on time, and I just want to wind it up with, as I say, we're going to get naked in the last couple minutes with you, figuratively, and. We talked about 7 murderers. We talked about 7 murderers of motivation, and I put a link in the live chat area for you guys to see those 7 motivation murderers. But we talked about ingratitude. One way to get around that is to write down what you're grateful for, right? And that'll help spawn you getting out of being feeling the ingratitude. Envy, don't make it the reason. Don't be jealous. We talked about impatience, and instead of embracing the process, Jonathan shared a nugget with us about owning the process, owning the journey, which is great. Feeling overwhelmed. Well, both of our experts today told us that if you feel overwhelmed, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Right? Start learning how to delegate a little bit more. Don't stop doing what you're doing, but just delegate a little bit better. Inaction is easily cured with action. Just do something. Loss of meaning. Well, you got to find out your why. Remember why you started that journey. And no skin in the game is you need to look for your pain. You really need to find that pain. And I guess the last thing that I'll say, and I'll let you guys wrap up as well, is that if you need to create an environment that supports action in the direction you want to go, one way to do this is to use those things that we talked about and make it painful not to follow through. So that's where the pain needs to be, not to follow through on what you want to do to get what you want. So, Jonathan, any conclusions with us today?
Yeah, my last nugget is to go out there and win. To go out there and win, because you want to stay motivated. Win one time. I'm just telling you, that feeling that you get from winning, if that doesn't keep you motivated, I don't know what else can, because I'm telling you, that beats more than any pain that you'll ever go through. I promise you, I've lost more than I won in my life. But how many times have you ever heard me talk about the times that I've lost? Or do you always hear me talking about if I'm winning or not?
That's right.
That's how I stay motivated. You just go win, baby. And the great Raider himself says, all we do, baby, is win.
I love it. I love it. Jonathan, how can people reach out to you and find you on social media?
Best way to find me on social media is to go to Jonathan Hindu, JONATHANHENDO. From any one of my social media sites, you'll be able to find that. My website is still currently being developed. If you want to go and connect with me outside of social media, just go to the contact page at the bottom part of the screen. There you'll be able to find all of my contact info. Just shoot me a quick email. I'd love to connect with you one-on-one. If you do shoot me an email, I promise you that we will connect. There again, also all of my social media stuff, you can find it at the bottom part of that page.
And your website, really quick.
JHENDO.org.
Gotcha. .org. Got it. Great. And Gina, any conclusions for us today?
I go back to something that I always talk about is, what is your why? What is your purpose? What is your mission? That really, to me, is the motivator of everything. Yeah, that would be, and the gratitude is really have gratitude for everything that you do, no matter how small it is, and like create a list, but know what your purpose is, and then be grateful for what you're accomplishing.
I love you, Gina.
I love it.
I love you.
Guys, I got to tell you guys, I love both of you guys. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to come on The Naked Truth. I love doing this series with these folks and adding some value to people. And you guys have a great weekend, and I will be in touch with both of you soon. My name's John Cassidy, and we're signing off right now. And thank you, everybody. This video was recorded, so you can come back and refer to it at any time and share it with your teams. So thank you guys so much.
Hey, one more thing. Our Pivot 10 Results website, there's a really cool Blab plugin. So as soon as this recording is done, it automatically integrates to our website, which is super cool. So if you go to Pivot 10 Results, you can see like instantaneously, probably in the next 3 minutes, and then people can actually go watch it and then make comments on our website.
That's too cool. Awesome. You did share that with me. Would you share that with Jonathan offline? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the plugin information for it. It's super cool.
I love it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Everybody. We appreciate everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.